Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning, Milt.
It's a good day on the lake, I will tell you. The fish are biting, and the media coverage is phenomenal. I'm not much of a techie, but I learned how to do a Google alert and put in keywords, and the computer watches clear across the country for those keywords and alerts me. And I can tell you the coverage on the walleye and saugeye catch is phenomenal, and it's all about good press. And I think we're going to have more. We're very much looking forward to the spring. Just recently, the Salina Lions Club really stepped up. You know from my past presentations that we've talked about our dead-end channels representing about 10% of the lake surface. And what a challenge that is, because it's a contributor to our water conditions. And so we've pushed aeration in those channels. And the Salina Lions Club, under the leadership of Glenn Hucks, called up the other day and said, we want to help the lake. Apparently at the Lions Club, every president gets to choose their project. And so first they were just talking about a cash donation, then we talked about dead-end channels, and the bottom line is they're going to aerate Pullman Bay, which is around Lakeshore Drive in Salina, if you're familiar. Very popular fishing hole. And the other thing that we're excited about is that all the experts, scientists, and engineers that we've consulted with, they've each sang a very consistent song, our lake lacks aeration and circulation. So we're all about, that is one of our big focal points for this year, is introducing aeration and circulation to our lake. But it's all about the science. We have, thanks to Jeff Bossler and some others over at Bem's Landing, some anecdotal evidence that linear aeration works beautifully, but we really never had it validated third-party and arm's length away. So we're going to use this opportunity, thanks to the Salina Lions Club, and have it third-party validated and actually do a pilot study and measure its worth, because there is literally a plethora of aeration companies out there and circulation companies. It's all about economics, best bang for your buck, etc. So we're going to put some science behind it, so that when people come to us and say, we've got 300 feet of channel, what device or technology should we use, we're better able to tell them. So that's pretty damn exciting stuff. It's very demonstrative of the commitment this area has for the lake. I'm sure the Lions Club and other groups that have supported us have other people pulling at them for pet projects, but this is really cool stuff. You heard the director say, in terms of alum, the scientists are telling us maybe our better buck would be spent treating the water in different forms and fashions. And you've heard from past presentations how excited we are about the treatment train on the south side of the lake that wraps around Aquaview. Which one you got up, Mark?
Just the first treatment.
All right. Bear with me, I'm going to turn my back to you. That might be a blessing, but... Okay, this is the old treatment train that wraps around Aquaview. That is done. And this spring we'll actually activate the pumps and begin that pilot. As you remember, we're intercepting water from Prairie Creek and actually pumping it over and forcing it through a constructed wetland with chitosan and alum interjected to cause that phosphorus to fall out. That is a complete installation now. Had we not run out of time, it would have been pumping this fall, but it didn't make sense to go through the expense of activating everything, only shut it down and winterize it for winter. So next spring, that'll be running. And then we have some cleanup work to do around the site, fix some driveways and re-manicure some lawns that we destroyed. And then if you look, the other thing we're excited about is right here. We were fortunate enough to get some grants from the state of Ohio through Clean Ohio and then the Department of Natural Resources, and we bought an additional 40 acres that right now we're awaiting a 319 verdict, and what we're going to do is literally mirror the treatment train on that new 40 acres. So the existing treatment train is about 23 acres. This will be 40 acres. So very quickly we've more than doubled our capacity, and we will be pumping about 1.3 million through Prairie Creek And once the other installation is done, that will double that capacity. So we'll be pumping in excess of 2 million gallons a day through that installation and measure the outcomes. What we're excited about is once we prove it scientifically, we know it's going to work, quite frankly, but once we prove it on paper, then our plan is to march right along the south side and find other properties where this kind of technology can be employed and help cleanse our water. The neat thing about the Prairie Creek installation is even if the Prairie Creek stops flowing, water seeks its own level, so lake water will backfeed into the prairie and will be pumped through the installation. The other thing that's really, really cool, beyond words, quite frankly, you heard the director mention the extraordinary effort that Tom Grabo and his team and Brian did on the dredging. We know from science that during the summer months, when the creeks stop flowing, 90% of our phosphorus problem is from internal load in the lake bottom. So that's our second strong initiative for 2013, is a very aggressive pumping program. You know from past presentations from Brian and others, dredging really isn't the issue. Where to deposit the spoil is. You have to have a place to go with it. And what we're extremely excited about is up in the right-hand corner. That is an in-lake littoral wetland that we've referenced before, but I don't know if we've ever showed you the actual schematic. That's 90 acres, capable of holding 770,000 cubic yards of silt out of our lake, which is huge. You just heard that Brian and Tom set records this year with 283 or 289,000 cubic yards. We're talking 770,000 in this one installation. The value added here is once we pump it full, then we're going to plant wetland plants and make it a further cleansing agent to our existing treatment drain. So when you take that 90, the new 40 we just bought, the existing 23 that we're just done with, you're talking over 100 acres of wetlands back in the lake, and we're well on our way to setting a precedent because this is the first time the Army Corps of Engineers has embraced a concept and marched along the south side and tried to put back those wetlands that were once there and dredge in the lake to get that out. And if I could just do a quick editorial, I don't know how many people saw it, it really doesn't matter. Does anybody recognize the name Jim Morris, who used to write for the Dayton Daily News, outdoor columnist? Well, recently he wrote an article/editorial positioning the statement that Grand Lake would suffer in the future because of Lake Erie getting sick. And all the attention would go up north and we wouldn't get our just share. And I want to tell you, as you heard the director say a little while ago, the commitment is extremely strong. It hasn't wavered one iota. In this installation alone, the state of Ohio has given us, through grants, $1.2 million. And that's the commitment we continually physically receive. That doesn't include watershed, that is just this installation. So I took issue with Jim's comment, wrote him an email back. I haven't heard back, but I wish these kind of people would check locally before they make these assertions, because we do have access directly with them every other week on a conference call. Our team is here locally, and they have all the directors in Columbus and their lieutenants, and we have one-on-one communications indirectly. So I just wanted to make that quick editorial that the support has been there without question, and it hasn't wavered one iota. Give me the blue one, would you please? There it is. We've had some comments and questions about our wonderful blue building that's on the south side of the installation. We don't know what the hell the problem is. We think it's kind of pretty. But there has been some inquiry about it. What this is called a MAID unit. And what I was talking about is when we draw water out of prairie, this building is filled with computers. And it senses the phosphorus content in the water and interjects alum and chitosan into that water to make the phosphorus and the sediments fall out before it goes through our wetlands. So anyhow, there were some issues. So we kind of got in Pat Lovett's face just a little bit, because she was by far the most outspoken of the bunch. And she has 3 recommendations for the building. Maybe she doesn't.
Tear it down.
That's her first one. So we're going to have a vote at the end of the day, which will give us our second one. And our last one. Whoa. That's pretty damn close. There it is. My bias is for that one, quite frankly. You know, levity aside, this was just a miscommunication between the vendor and us. We had asked for a nondescript beige color or light tan that would blend into the environment, and their corporate colors are blue, and that's the way it came. And so my message is today that it won't stay that way. As soon as spring comes and the weather gets fit, we're going to paint it. And the other thing on this installation is we put big landscaping mounds around it to try to disguise it and make it more attractive to the area. Okay, the last thing I need to tell you about is, and Director Zeringer alluded to it before, we're going to run another pilot again on lake level management. Right now we're at 9 inches above normal pool, and here we are just beginning into February. And Brian and his team, as we've said all along, in terms of helping the lake and restoring its health, not that we aren't emotionally engaged, but it always comes down to the science. And Brian facilitated a project where we have level monitors installed now on Beaver Creek and in the lake that are real time. He can monitor it on the internet, and we can see the impact not only downstream but in the lake as we do these pilot studies. So probably Monday or Tuesday, suffice it to say early next week, we're going to open up both the tubes because we've not tested that yet. They're 5-footers. We're going to leave them open for a period of 2 days and measure the impact of how quickly the lake responds and what the impact is downstream on the beaver. At the end of the 2 days, we're going to shut one down, and then we're going to leave the other one either fully open or partial open to get the lake back down to normal pool, which is the base of the notch. So that will be our pilot study thus far into the year, and it's all about collecting science and data. Brian tells us that the wish list for the future is have these tied to a computer and an automated gate opening, if you will, and use the science of those level monitors and fluctuate the gates as necessary without manual intervention. But we're not there yet, so it still requires some efforts on our part. Okay, questions? Yes?
With your last topic you're talking about, you're going to lower our lake again?
Mm-hmm.
Last year we lowered it, and we got in deep trouble by doing so.
Well,
I know the drought, but I mean...
Well, there's no buts, ma'am, and I don't mean to be rude here. We've had so many conversations on this, and quite frankly, the prior pilot to that drought, the thing that killed us was the drought. Had the drought not been here, you wouldn't even know lake level-wise that we did it. The lake recovered and gained 2 inches after our pilot. It was flowing over the notch. All we're doing is returning it to normal pool. And we did learn from last year. The probability is we won't go deep into the season like we did last year unknowingly. You know, this is a wintertime project. We've still got 2 or 3 or 4 months of spring yet to come. And without a drought, we'll be absolutely fine. Because I can tell you, the other side of the coin is, I've already had, I'm up to 4 calls now, from lake residents wanting it drawn down because their channels are right at the lip, and if it goes much higher, they're going to have to sandbag their houses. That's the other side of the coin. Other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Milt, at the Prairie Creek project, I noticed that there's some additional piping now coming off the main line going to the separate channels.
Yes.
And it ends up going into like a 45 into the air. What is that all about?
Okay. Okay. I don't think we can expand a frame, but right here is what he's talking about. Aquaview has 2 channels that are dead ends. And as I said earlier when I spoke of the Salina Lions Club, we are committed to try to work with dead-end channels to provide aeration and or circulation. So it dawned on us as we were working on this project, that draw line, that line right along there, is an 8-incher or 9-incher, I forget which. But anyhow, that's the draw line coming out of Prairie Creek. And we have a dead-end situation there on Prairie Creek. So we ran spurs off of the main draw line and dumped them in the end of each of those channels. And the idea is, once the pumps start flowing, we will reduce the size, because there's 6 inchers coming off. We're going to reduce the size and drain off or siphon off some of that water from the draw line and provide circulation to those channels. Water has to go somewhere, so if we're pumping water in the ends of those channels, its only exit point is the lake. Albeit it might not be a noticeable flow, but we'll be providing aerated water and fresh, well not fresh, prairie in the end of that channel, forcing it back to the lake. So it's a circulation technique rather than a dead-end channel.
So you're taking more water out of Prairie Creek than you would normally?
No. The draw line is a fixed 9 inches or whatever it is, okay? Of that 9 inches, we're just drawing some of it off before it gets to the treatment train and flowing into the channel. But 9 inches is 9 inches is 9 inches. You with me?
Right. So the pumps pull the same amount, the same volume?
Yes. It's just, instead of sending, I'll make this up, instead of sending 100% of that water through the treatment train, we're going to send 98% of it through the treatment train and 2% through these channels to create current and circulation. We're hoping, and you're right, the way they were stubbed in, they're on an angle and it's a 45 up. And that was just to make them visible. We're hoping the homeowners will connect to that and maybe put in a venturi or whatever to provide aeration also to those channels.
Will it dip back down into the water?
Oh, we're going to cut it off and redirect it. That was just to keep it so we could pump water and stuff right now. There's a lot of work out there to do yet cosmetically, and that's one of them. And we have to repair a lot of yards and that kind of thing. That's just, it's kind of like stubbing in plumbing to a house. You come back and you finish it off.
I know you mentioned to me that it should have no effect on the level of Prairie Creek, but we're still a little bit concerned about our level of our channel at Prairie Creek.
As an ex-banker, I will give you our immortal words, trust me. Seriously, I mean, the science is there, water seeks its own level.
Over time.
Granted, but you know, Prairie Creek's a pretty wide creek, and whatever water we're going to draw out at Prairie can't, through drainage, provide for it, the lake will backfill. So I think you're going to be well pleased. I know you are. Other questions? Yes?
What is your plan for the dead-end channel at Club Island on the south side of the lake?
I don't know that I have a specific answer to that. We have been studying aerial maps of the lake and identifying dead-end channels and what can be done economically to fix that or put a remedy in. As I've told you so often, we're still operating on donated funds. We can only move fast within the confines of the monies coming in. We've identified a number of them that we'd like to help. To give you a specific answer on a Club Island one, I can't. We're just not there yet. But we're looking at all of them, trust me, because they're a real impact to the lake.
The dredging numbers you talk about, are we making ground up on what's coming into the lake?
Yes.
And how many years will it take to dredge the lake?
Depends. How's that for a nondescript answer? Are we making progress? Yes. And I don't know how they calculated that. I would defer to Terry and Franny. But in the past, experts have told us that on an annual basis, about 140,000 cubic yard of silt comes into our lake. Don't ask me to justify it, I just trust it, okay? In years past, before Brutus, the new dredge, and before Tom Grabo and Brian stepped up efforts, we would dredge about 40 to 60,000 cubic yards a year. We were losing ground. The last 2 years, yes, we've taken out twice as much as that's come in.
Do you know how much is there that we want to take out? I mean, how many years are we talking?
Okay, I got,
Wait a minute, I got 2 answers to that, okay? because there's two mission statements here. I think where you're coming from is a deeper lake.
No, I'm just, where I'm coming from, how long is it gonna take to get that phosphorus out?
Well, that's what I'm gonna tell you, okay? From a phosphorus standpoint, the experts tell us that the phosphorus is in the top inch to a half inch. You don't have to dredge a foot to get it, okay? So that's my mission is to bring a healthy lake back, a usable lake. So all I care about is the top inch. But there's a huge amount of people out there that want the lake deepened, and that's a whole separate issue. Tom, did you have a comment?
But how, to get to where you want to get, how long is that going to take?
It's a function of places to go. Once we prove this works, it'll pave the way, this 90 acres. If you just use what Brian and his team pumped last year at 289, this holds 770. In theory, that's 3 years worth of dredging right there. We're hoping, no indications yet, that maybe other dredges will appear on the lake and help expedite that. I can't give you a solid answer because it's all about where to put it.
How much do you want to take out of there to get there?
I want to take an inch off the entire bottom of
You
the
know what
lake.
that amounts to?
No. Tom's an engineer, other engineers could take the cubic or the square footage times an inch and tell you exactly, but I'm an expert.
We have no idea where we need to go to get where we want to.
There's studies that have been done. There's over 40 million cubic yards of silt in the lake bottom.
Okay.
It's been collecting silt for a long time. But like Milt is saying, not all of it is, it's not a uniform mixture down at the bottom. In the top inch, it's more close, to get it off. But we would have to significantly. Again, there's probably about 40 million cubic yards or so from a study that was done several years ago in the bottom of the lake of silt. Like Milt says, though, the top part is what's important. And some of the silt, despite, doesn't get stirred up all the time. So again, if you're working on the top inch, but there's a whole lot. But a lot of that silt came in even before we had the phosphorus, coming runoff from the agricultural land and the homes and stuff in previous years. But there's a whole lot. And dredging is just one tool in the box. Oxygen, again, as Jeff reminded me, if you aerate the bottom of the channel and keep it aerated, the phosphorus that's in the muck doesn't come out nearly as easy. When it goes anaerobic at the bottom of the very bottom of the channel, in the middle of the summer on a hot night, that starts releasing, the chemical reaction releases phosphorus. So you don't have to get it all out. There's different tools you can use, to help control it. But it's just one tool in the box. But dredging by itself isn't going to solve it. But certain areas you can dredge and get, a lot of phosphorus out and tie it up, like we're doing in that wetlands that's going to be constructed for dredge spoil. And then in the long run, there could be other things. Again, work with the Corps. We used to have a lot more islands out in the lake. And again, if you increase the amount of dredging we're doing and you got a place to put it, like rebuild some of the islands, you can step up how much you're removing. So it's a tool in the box, but it's not going to solve the problem.
Again, what I'm hearing, there's really no prediction on when we're going to reach a healthy lake state. There's no goal, there's no,
Well, there's goals.
There's goals.
Yeah. But there isn't an expert
Next year, no.
around.
5 years from now, we hope that we're made significant improvements to that. 10 years from now, we hope to feel that we're on a great path of reclaiming full activities and stuff on our lake. With that, say it's going to happen next week or a year from now, that's probably not realistic. I mean, you got to look at continued progression of this, and what are the things that we know we can do to improve that.
Not even the experts can give us a definitive answer. There's too many variables. All we can do is push as fast as we can push and as hard as we can push, which you have our teams guarantee this being done to get her done. But to give you something definitive, it's impossible from what they're telling us. Sure. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.